Hey everybody, this is Ken Jaquess of the band K2, and today I'm going to talk about our new release, Black Garden, that's coming out very shortly on Magna Carta Records. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the album and how we came about to record it in the way that we did as far as the subject matter is concerned. To get right into it, the term Black Garden specifically refers to the black is the lava that is present at the time an island is created, and the garden, of course, is what happens thousands of years later once the island has fully grown, if you will, and the ocean has eroded and created the soil, and there is now very fertile soil, and you have a garden that grows. That's what Black Garden is about. As far as the story behind the entire album, it's a conceptual album. It has to deal specifically with the ancient Polynesians, and we're talking definitely pre-Columbian, and how they made this incredible journey across the Pacific to settle the islands of the South Pacific and to settle Hawaii and Guam and Pitcairn Island and all of these areas that now are populated by Polynesians, and there were no people there before. This part of the world is kind of the last part of the world to really be populated by humans. And humans only started arriving there roughly about 4,000 years ago. And between 300 and 800 AD is when they really fully became populated. Prior to that, there was just a few people and just a few islands, based on what little history we have of that. I think the main inspiration is the journey to the islands, the ultimate sacrifice these people were willing to make to just explore. They're the only peoples that were pre-Columbian that were exploring their part of the world purely because they wanted to explore, not because they suffered strife or famine or war or anything like that from their homelands. They simply sought to go to these other lands to just see what was there and to expand their population and to expand their horizons, and using the stars and the way the waves overlapped and looking at birds. Those three things are the main ways they navigated. They had no tools whatsoever to navigate with that were metal. It was all strictly done with what you saw, and they paid attention to the way the winds blew and the way it hit the waves, and that gave them an idea as to the way the currents were going. And currents tend to go in a particular direction towards land and actually going around and coming back from land, and they studied that so much they knew how to do it. And they did this a couple of thousand years before Columbus sailed. And it's just such an unbelievable, epic journey that they did. And in one long journey, they crossed over a third of our world. And that just blew me away. And I've been into this for quite some time, and I thought this would make good subject matter for a new album. So like I said, I was looking for a concept to kind of wrap the music around and look for inspiration, and the ancient Polynesians ended up being the inspiration. And hopefully we've captured that lyrically and sonically. We've tried to realize it in a bit of a darker way, and not be such a happy, sunny, tropical way of looking at things, because when you look at the way an island actually is created, it's very violent. And when you look at the people who eventually made it to these lands, it wasn't all happy times when they got there. It was very difficult. Many people died. It was very difficult to survive. And when you really think about it, if you were stranded on a tropical island, it might sound beautiful, and it would be for about a couple of hours until you started to realize you had to somehow survive. And even though these people knew how to do it, they really didn't know what they were going to find when they got to these new lands, because they were going to be somewhat different from the lands they came from. And all of the uncertainty and the gigantic journey and the huge risk they were willing to take is just a gold mine of opportunity to dig into and find inspiration to write music and to be inspired by. So that's where that all came about. And hopefully this makes sense to those of you who are watching it. And